Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Friday, the 4th of July. It's Happy Star Wars Day, folks. And I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning again by Joshua Barry. How's it going, Joshua?
I know, again, everyone will be glad to know Chris is back on Monday, Derek. But hey, we've had lots of talking points to get us through this week. And yeah, there's a game at the weekend. There's a press conference today. We will be hearing from some, don't know who, but presume some of Russell Martin's new arrivals, and a game to look forward to on Sunday. So I cannot believe it, but the Rangers are back in action, and the gap seems to get smaller every single season we do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good news is, I think we've rectified the buzzing issue that's been a problem the last couple of mornings as well, folks. So fingers crossed that we can steer clear of that. Thank you to you all that got inundated with messages yesterday, people trying to troubleshoot the issue. Hopefully we've got to the bottom of that. So let's crack on then. So a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, great guys at the Glasgow-based fencing company that you can trust, folks. Proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience. They're offering free consultations, and you also get 10% off when you use the code Rangers Review on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. Do go and check them out. Right, we'll kick off. We're going to look in depth really at how Russell Martin may be setting up his midfield this season. But before we do that, there was two more additions to the Rangers squad. It was with regards to the backroom team yesterday. As we reported on, Salvatore Bibbo. Sal Bibbo has joined, as has Mike Williamson, who's, you may remember him from his playing days at Newcastle. He's been most recently been at Carlisle United, and Bibbo, as we touched on, most recently been at Sheffield Wednesday, who are a car crash of a club at the moment, unfortunately, due to their madcap owner, and previously at Arsenal and Brighton. So he joins as the goalkeeping coach. Now, Russell Martin said, "I'm delighted to have Mike and Sal join my team ahead of the new season. I played with Mike at Wycombe Wanderers, so we go back a long way. And I know the qualities he can bring to this group. As a player, he played at the very top level and is an experienced coach, having been a manager himself. I'm also really happy to bring Sal into the team. He has a lot of experience and a strong track record of developing goalkeepers. After speaking to him, it was clear that his knowledge and character will be a real asset to the players and the staff. I am looking forward to working with them both." So there you go, Joshua. Certainly come with a great deal of experience. Mike Williamson more in the lower reachings of the English league. But more coaching staff to join the Russell Martin backroom setup.
Yeah, and obviously Williamson, like his assistant Matt Gill, someone that Russell Martin played with and knows quite well. But in Sal Bibbo, someone who's experienced, and there's probably a bit of practical an element to that as well, because he's out of contract at Sheffield Wednesday. As you say, they've not got their issues to seek, and Rangers need a goalkeeping coach in right away. But even just speaking to a few people last night about Mike Williamson and what he's done at his various clubs. Obviously, he's been at Gateshead most recently, I think Derek was it, MK Dons as well, Carlisle. And from my brief research, I think these guys have been in all week. We obviously broke the news about Sal Bibbo on Monday or Tuesday earlier in the week. But from my brief learnings on Williamson over the last 24 hours or so, seems to be a coach very much in the, as you'd expect, Russell Martin mould, and will probably allow him to not be totally hands-on with training. He'll have a role, he'll have a part. But obviously Sal Bibbo replaces Colin Stewart, who'd been at the club for a long, long time. And it's going to be really interesting to see, we'll come on to speak about it in coming weeks, but it's going to be really interesting to see what happens exactly in the goalkeeping position, not just the goalkeeping coach, but in the position this summer.
Yeah. We're on these superimposed backgrounds, folks. So apologies sometimes.
I'm losing myself.
Yeah, you look like you're in Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty. But there you go. But we'll persevere nonetheless. We can see your face. That is the main thing. We see your fantastic complexion in your face, Joshua. So there you go. David says, before we crack on, he says, at what time? Will we have a press conference? Yes, we touched on that. So it will be this afternoon, as Joshua said. Not too sure who we're going to speak to with regards to players, but it will be interesting to see who we get a chat with. I'm hoping it will be some of the new signings, Joshua. That would be good. Yeah.
I think I would expect, my guess, David, is it'll be Max Aarons probably and Joe Rothwell. Rothwell and Emmanuel Fernandez obviously both trained yesterday too, but I would suspect it'd probably be the two more experienced players in Aarons, and who's been in the door for a little while now, and Joe Rothwell as well. But yeah, we'll see. People can obviously keep up to date. They'll be able to watch the full press conference and read it, and we'll have live updates when we're up at the training centre later.
Yes. Right, moving on from that, in terms of the state of play, of course, the two additions that arrived on Wednesday, namely Rothwell and Emmanuel Fernandez. Incidentally, folks, if you want to learn more about both of those, I chatted to guys that know them more than anyone. A Leeds United author, Andrew Stats Dalton, who's a great old friend of mine. He provided some insight into Rothwell, and we also got Ashley back on from the Up the Poshcast, who gave us some great insight into Manny Fernandez and his time down there at London Road. And we, as we touched on the show yesterday, Joshua, moves are afoot to bring more reinforcements in. Talks at an advanced stage with Thelo Aasgaard of Luton Town, and big lad from Wolves as well, Nasser Giga, is said to be advancing as well. Are we expecting anything today, perhaps?
Perhaps. I just noticed that I keep losing my shoulders, Derek. So I don't really know what to do about that.
Well, we can see your face. Don't worry. If Johnny's tuning in, then he's aware.
Yeah, I'll maybe give you this answer and then log off for a second or two and try and address the issue. But Thelo Aasgaard, pardon me, believe is the most advanced at this stage. Nasser Giga, as we spoke about yesterday, I believe that Rangers still face competition there. I believe that they do want to bring 3 centre backs in. The Connor Cody move is still working away in the background. Obviously, we reported on that almost, I think, a month ago now, and that's a long-term link. Leicester have had their PSR issues. He's only reported back for pre-season last week. He was on punditry duty for the Club World Cup. All going well. Rangers would expect to sign all 3 of those players. I don't believe anything is absolutely done, but Aasgaard is probably the closest at time of speaking, and it's going to be an investment. It's going to be a number of millions of pounds, up to 4 or 5 million. Still trying to get exact clarity, as we reported yesterday on the website when those advanced talks were going on. People close to the deal, hopeful that it would be completed soon, but those talks still going on yesterday for the player who joined Luton in January and came through the Wigan Academy prior to that. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for some movement over the weekend. I think between the game and the press conference and everything else, it's going to be a busy one. Yeah.
So the midfield then, Joshua, because Aasgaard is a creative midfielder. I said it yesterday. I've seen him a few times when he was playing for Wigan. A decent player, but again, it's League One at that point. He was playing for Wigan Athletic. So whether he can take the step up, no disrespect to the Latics, but playing for Rangers isn't exactly playing for Wigan or indeed Luton, who has suffered a double drop, of course, and have been in free fall since the relegation from the Premier League. But it looks tidy on the ball. Like a substantial fee it would be as well to bring him into the club. It just cost Luton £3 million back in January. But just watching some Luton commentators on it, and the Norway manager, it's not just him, but other players that are playing at a level that they shouldn't be. I think they're not too happy at the Norwegian manager speaking to Thelo, telling him to play at a higher level. So, certainly Rangers would fit that bill if he wants to play more for Norway. He's just recently been called up, of course. But where do you see him fitting in? Rothwell, of course, he played sort of as a 6. He's got the number 6 at Rangers as well. How do you see that midfield shaping up? Of course, we are still in the transfer window. There's still question marks over whether the likes of Diamandi and Raskin will still be at Rangers for the upcoming season as well. How do you see it shaping up?
Yeah, well, we should touch on outgoings at the end of the show maybe as well, Derek, because that's all been pretty quiet. And there's obviously, Jose Cifuentes reports back for training this week, led to believe that was somewhat delayed by a bit of a visa issue coming back from where he'd been playing in Greece. He'd been back in Ecuador, but he'll be back. Cyril Dess's future, all of the above. We can maybe get into that a little bit at the end of the show. The League One thing, it is a lot of money to spend if you're taking Emmanuel Fernandez and Thelo Aasgaard. presuming that move is completed as expected, and Rangers really want him, it is a lot of money to spend on 2 League One players now. I think there's a few things within that. Number one, there's a bit of a premium on English players. Number two, there's a difference between, I think a lot of people have an allergic reaction to shopping in the English market, understandably. You know, you cast your mind back to when Rangers, I think the quote from I think it was Chris Wilde at Sheffield United, they also wanted Tom Lawrence when Tom Lawrence came up the road. Obviously, he was at 29, 28 maybe at that stage there at 29. And the quote was, we got like gazumped, blown out the water financially by Rangers. And at the time, that was like, great, Rangers back in the Champions League, blah, blah, blah. But you're also then spending a lot of money on a player who's at the end of their career, as it materialised, picked up a lot of injuries. There's probably different spending that money on a 29-year-old compared to a 23-year-old. But it still is a lot of money I agree to spend on players who maybe haven't played at a really high level, although I think the Championship is a better league than the Scottish Premiership. Thelo Aasgaard, what would he bring? I think both him and Rothwell will give you something that Rangers really lacked last season, which is the ability to carry the ball. Just watching a bit more of Rothwell yesterday, Derek, that's what stands out to me watching him is he's a safe passer. In a good way. Not that he's boring, but he can switch the ball well. He can be secure in the ball. And amongst all the talk about Rangers' tactics being poor last season and that it didn't allow them to control the game, who in that midfield is a really safe passer? I think that's probably the weakest part of Raskin's game. I don't think Diamandi's a brilliant passer over distance. I think he's better in tight areas. Connor Barron is safe enough, but I don't think his long passing is brilliant. So Rothwell probably gives you a bit of security there, but also can carry the ball, can progress it individually, can probably beat his man one-on-one in a way that this Rangers squad last season lacked, as we always spoke about. I think it was too one-dimensional. And then Aasgaard, if you look at his underlying numbers, and we've got this on the website, on the Twitter page, if people want to look at it too, his kind of expected goals numbers and his shooting numbers are much higher than his creative numbers, which is interesting. At his best in that left kind of number 8 half-space position, likes to cut inside in his right foot. But again, just speaking to a few people who've worked with him or who know him, there was a lot of people who said when he came into the club, or a couple of people who said to me, really compared Aasgaard to the profile of Barkley at Luton, in that someone who's not a winger, but can drive powerfully in the midfield, can shoot, can carry the ball. And you see clubs a lot more like Villa with Morgan Rogers. You see clubs and what City are doing this year with central dribblers. They want ball carriers in the middle of the pitch. And I think that's something that Rangers have really lacked. Again, probably outside of someone like Nico Raskin. So can maybe get into a little bit more of what that midfield structure looks like. But I don't know if you've watched him, Aasgaard, much from your dealings down there, if you had any in-person scouting.
Yeah, I seen him. He was decent for Wigan. To be fair, I watched him when Wigan have played Bolton, and Bolton have had a thing against Wigan. Hadn't beaten them for over a decade since their 1-0 win at the DW Stadium back in 1st of April, I think it was. Wigan, Rangers, I was going to say Rangers. It was similar to Rangers and Celtic to a point when it seemed like hammering after hammering. And they had a mental issue bolting up against Wigan, and they often ran riot, and Aasgaard was playing in some of those sides. So, he's a decent player. I can understand why he went to Luton at the time. It was a step up to the Championship. But unfortunately for the Hatters, they had a bit of a rough old time in the Championship. And, I can understand him wanting to play at a higher level. I think he's a better player than League One. Put it that way. He's certainly a Championship player. Whether he's a Rangers player, it'll be interesting to find out. But he's certainly a player that likes to get on the ball, likes to take shots. And as a comment comes in here from Stephen, it's an issue that has plagued Rangers for quite some time. He says, we need goals and shots from midfield. I think that's clearly evident, Joshua, that Rangers need goals from other areas of the park. I think there's been an over-reliance on the guy who leads the line to get the goals. I think that you need to see goals scattered about, don't you?
Yeah, well, I'll throw it back to, I'll ask people in the chat as well, who is Rangers' highest scoring midfielder in the Scottish Premiership, and how many did they score last season? And I think that probably explains a little bit the interest here. Now, again, we go back to something we reported on at the weekend. It's included in an article we're speaking about the Hamza Gaman deal, that Rangers would from our understanding, look more domestically in the short term this summer. It's markets that people know. You're relying on wider networks. You know, Greta Steinson was the technical director of Leeds a couple of years ago. He's still, obviously, there's a 49ers representative heavily involved across both clubs. Kevin Thelwell and Dan Purdy both coming up from Everton. Russell Martin having worked in League One and the Championship. So, listen, it is a lot of money to spend on players at that level. And I guess that's also a reflection of the fact that this squad needs a lot of work in a short period of time. The answer is, as I can see people commenting in, Nico Raskin with 4. Raskin got 4, Hadji got 4, and Lawrence got 4. That's just not enough for a team like Rangers who dominate the ball so often. So, and I agree with John on that point. I think Lyle Cameron could chip in.
Yes.
With depends how much football he plays, but that's again, speaking to Tony Docherty for an interview he did on the site a couple of weeks ago, he said he's just the most almost like natural player he's worked with in the final third in terms of making the right decisions. And I think that comment there is right. Rangers squad and it's been such a mismatch of we'll try this because the managers I think had the biggest say without a sporting director to really the authority to guide it. Yeah. I think even when there's been some good recruitment, it's been a case of how can we make this work at the weekend and not how will this work in 3 or 4 months. And what does it mean for Diamandi and Raskin? And well, finally Rangers have some options in midfield. You shouldn't be going into a season only with 3 players or 4 players who could start there. You need that competition, don't you? And Aasgaard got, I think, 14 goals last season across all competitions across the Championship and League One. And you can read a little bit more about him on the website, but the positions he picks the ball up in, what he's trying to do, his expected goals number at Wigan was like 4 times higher than his expected assists number. So the direct chances he's creating for teammates. Whereas Rothwell, although he's got a kind of back catalogue of some stunning goals at Blackburn, I think you're going to see him play a bit deeper, be secure in the ball, bring a lot of energy, and actually be able to move Rangers up the pitch. I think that was something that came up in your chat with the Leeds United author last night, that he can, what was it, turn midfield into attack so quickly.
Turn defence into attack very quickly.
Yeah, which again Rangers need, because in last season's basketball football, again I'll put it back to you, who really carried the ball well for Rangers over distance? Outside of Cherney and Raskin and Shefty, I don't think there was anyone. No. I don't think that's Tavernier's game anymore. When you played a front four of Bayrami, Lawrence, Dessers and Cherney, I'll go back to it. For me, the biggest issue was it's one-dimensional, really. You know Cherney wants to cut inside. You know Bayrami wants to cut inside. You know Lawrence wants to come to feet. You know Dessers wants to run beyond. And having a few players who can progress the ball individually, especially in the midfield, I think should help address that.
Yeah. You may hear a little slight buzzing, folks. That's because a fly has decided to join me in my room. He's flying about, trying to get his point across. But so that is a slight buzzing you may hear in your ear. An interesting one just on Diamandi there. CG NI says, did Phil tell Deal to stop taking shots from outside the box? He seemed to have a lovely strike when he first came in. I remember that goal at McDermott Park. I think it was his first goal, in Rangers.
Yeah, but he scored outside the box. He was told to shoot about 1 million times on the Cologne, I'm sure, because someone backed me up in the comments here, but he scored against St Johnstone early and he scored against Hearts early. And then later in his career under Clermont, he scored away at Dundee United. Aside from that, I thought Diamandi shooting from outside the area was the epitome of a poorly coached team at points, because he was shooting from Rangers shot from outside the box way too much under Clermont. That is something you'll see less under Martin, and I welcome that, because we don't need to get into the whole XG debate, but you know my thoughts on this, Derek.
Yeah. I remember when Redfan took a shot from I can't remember who it was against. Was it a European game? He took a shot from about 40 yards. Was it Benfica? I can't remember for the life of me. But
no, he took against Celtic in January.
He was on a mission, wasn't he?
Right back. He took 7 shots. He attempted 7 shots from right back, and but that's like one game. But then the issue is that's probably fine in one end-to-end game. When you're trying to break a team down, sustain pressure, work a better shooting position. What happened against all these teams, that came to Ibrox, was they were happy with you shooting from that distance, because 9 times out, not even 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, it doesn't go in. You just remember the one that does go in. So less shooting from distance this season, Rangers, please.
Yes. A few comments coming out. As Stephen says, I miss those days, being off the edge of your seat, knowing what was to come when Alberts, Mendes, Gio and Nerlinger had the ball. Rangers always had that threat from midfield, and we need it back, guys. There's always a sense of anticipation. Certainly when Alberts got the ball about 30 yards from goal, that he was going to shape up to shoot, and more often than not, he would hit the target. So, someone like that would be absolutely magnificent. This is an interesting one. The first one of the season, you could say, Joshua. I've no idea what this will be, but Guardian Zero says starting 11 for Bruges. But let's just... where do we start with this?
Okay.
I think Butland will be the goalkeeper. Would you agree?
For the season or for this game? I think that's two separate questions.
Might put a half and a half, maybe. Kelly.
This game, I think, up and a half and a half. It's interesting that Kieran Wright signed the contract last night.
Yes.
A 1-year extension. That, to me, tells you that Mason Munn will probably be going out on loan, with Ridden Maguire playing the under-19s league. Both of those goalkeepers are rated very highly. Maguire's had a lot of interest from down south. Mason Munn obviously signed a 4-year deal, maybe not quite a 4-year deal, but it's a long-term contract. Recently made his debut. I think you'll see movement in the goalkeeping position this summer. Club Brugge is a good early test, because they'll probably be quite aggressive and press high. And how does that work with Martin's football when he's literally just getting to work with these players for the first time? So Butland and goals. Probably Aarons and Tavernier play a half each. I don't think Suter will be ready, so you'd imagine it's probably Fernandez and Proper, or Inciala and Fernandez. Not Inciala and Fernandez. Proper and Fernandez, and Chefty at left back. Rothwell, I think, will get a half. Barron's just got back. Raskin's just got back. Who knows? But probably 2 different 11s before Rangers obviously then go down to their pre-season camp in at St George's Park.
I was surprised seeing Kieran Wright getting a new deal. I get it's the homegrown quota, but he's 26 now. He's never played a game for Rangers. He's had 9 loans at the club. He's just one of those, I guess, third choice goalies that clubs have just to make up the quota. They are the numbers. I mean, there's famous ones down south at Man City, of course. They had Scott Carson on the books for a number of years. But listen, if Kieran Wright's happy being third choice, then so be it. If I was him, I would be itching to play games and go out there and really make a name for himself in goal at a club. But there you go. I agree with you, Josh. I think that would mean Mason Munn will go out on loan. Where that would be, who knows? Interesting. Midfield, I think, we'll see probably 2 different teams. Up top, Danilo, we've seen him really busting a gut in pre-season. I'd imagine he might be leading the line on the weekend. He'll get an opportunity, I would imagine. I'm excited to see Oscar Cortez as well, Joshua, and whether Rangers can get a tune out of him. So I think we'll see the pair of them, who were a tad frustrated, it's fair to say, at the tail end of last season about not getting more game time than what they feel that they should have. So I think it'll be very much experimental. Don't think we should read too much into the results. I think going by social media last week, the TNS outcome, it's fair to say a few folk were getting a tad concerned at that, but it's all about fitness, isn't it, Joshua, at this point, more so than outcomes and results in pre-season.
Yeah, well, we said at the time as well about the amount of running that was done in that first week. It was a game probably somewhat deliberately played on heavy legs, but if Russell Martin needed a reminder of what it is like up here compared to the Championship, even the Premier League, it's that you can have that sort of reaction when it's a behind closed doors friendly, a bounce game, and it doesn't even have a match report in the club website. So there's obviously there's not pressure on a game like Sunday, but I think there'll be a bit of expectation to see, like, okay, is anything different? What's maybe not the outcomes being different, but what's the different input? What are they trying to do that's different? And is there a player that's impressed them in pre-season? Oscar Cortez obviously is kind of near the top of that list for potential because he played so little last season. Bailey Rice. We had a story on the website probably 2 or 3 months ago now that contract talks had opened for Bailey Rice, who's out of contract now in 2026, this time next summer.
Yeah.
As far as we're aware, there's been no development on that. Obviously, perhaps somewhat put to the side as everything else has gone on at the club in recent months, and you can understand that to a degree. But is this the time he finally gets a chance, or does he sign a long-term contract and go out on loan? He's had a couple of years that probably haven't been brilliant for his development because he's not, I don't think, been given enough of an opportunity. The end of last season epitomises that. So could we see him do well out of pre-season? What does the movement at centre-back mean for Clinton and Ciala? So, yeah, lots and lots of questions. But I'd like to see the likes of Rice and Cortez and others be given an opportunity. By all accounts, Cortez has come back really fit. Again, we had a story that he'd reported back early for pre-season. Won the beep test. Again, we're led to believe, which is the all-important pre-season marker, isn't it? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see it in the flesh on Sunday, but obviously it's like the earliest of earliest entry points at a new manager's style at Ibrox. Yeah,
a big thank you to the kind donations from a couple of users, and this one here sort of ties in what you were saying there about Bailey Rice. I think it is a big season for him. I'm really hoping we see more of him at the club. I hope that Russell Martin puts a lot of trust in him. Not only Bailey Rice, but I'd like to see more of Finlay Curtis as well, to be honest. Will we see Clinton Enciala given the movement in centre-half? I'm not sure. He could be someone that is pushed out on loan, perhaps. We've talked about that before on shows. That might benefit his game, but certainly I think pushes him down the pecking order, the arrival. Emmanuel Fernandez, incidentally, right-footed, can play on the left if need be, though. So there you go. A unit of a guy, by all accounts, as well. So, yeah, very much looking forward to seeing him in action on Sunday. And if you missed the show yesterday, folks, we will be covering that game. So you'll have the usual pre-match show, and then we'll be on post-match as well. So there you go. Want to touch on this. A lot of comments coming in. You may have seen the Rangers releasing the new training gear, cracking travel wear, Martin Clark says. I've seen this on the website. I've actually had a quick peek at it. It looks decent enough, but the prices are eye-watering, it's fair to say. So t-shirts 45 quid, hoodies 75 quid, and but I guess that's just the par for the course these days from football clubs selling their training group travel gear, as they've called it. But do let us know. There's a few comments coming in saying they don't like it very much. Have you seen it, Joshua?
No, I haven't seen it. Surely we don't. Surely kits, Derek, is the extent of our research into these matters, is it not?
Well, it seems to be causing a bit of a stooshy, certainly in the comments. People don't like it. I think I'd have to see it in person, put it that way, but folk aren't too happy with the release of the travel gear. But there you go. Right, I think we'll wrap up there for now. As we touched on earlier, it is a press conference day for the first time this season, so we'll keep your eyes peeled on the YouTube channel, on the website for all the latest from Auchenhowie. Heading along there, Joshua, I'd imagine?
I'll be there, yeah. I'll be there. So another long day at Rangers Review HQ for all of us, Derek. So looking forward to speaking to some of the new signings, getting a feel for how they've settled in, and lots of transfer rumblings in the background. So thanks to everyone for watching. We need to ask, Derek, people who are watching live to subscribe on YouTube for free. That really helps us. Obviously, the website is where to get all of your best coverage, your transfer updates right throughout the season as well. There's going to be loads and loads of new coverage on the website. But if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please do subscribe and give us a like, because that really helps us to do these videos every single day on YouTube.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Martin says I was being sarcastic. So he doesn't.
He texted that. He said that he sent that after Derek, didn't he? So that's sus, but fair enough. We'll take Martin at his word. Yeah, there's not many that are happy about it, but there you go. Right, that'll do us there, folks. Thanks you for tuning in as ever. If we don't chat to you later, then enjoy your Friday and your Saturday, whatever you are up to, and we'll be back again on Sunday to talk all things Rangers. So until then, bye for now.